This video is extremely important if you're sitting right now on some altcoins or even some Bitcoin and wondering where the crypto market is headed next. Because we are having some big news right now happening on a macroeconomic scale that is going to impact these risk on assets possibly tremendously. And on one hand, right now, we've got the Fed saying one thing and the president saying another. And the big question that you need to know right now for your crypto bags is who is right and what is better. And the answer to this might shock you, or maybe it won't. I'm very curious, and I'd like to hear your feedback on these thoughts in the comments down below. Welcome back to the Crypto Report, everybody. I'm Crypto Kip. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content, and let's talk a little bit about this. This morning, there was some big volatility because CPI data came out. And when the CPI data comes out, it usually causes the market to go one way or another in a big way. And on this news getting released, CPI data came in higher than expected. What is CPI? It is the Fed's preferred gauge to measure inflation. And this data is suggesting that inflation, coming in higher than expectations, is not getting better. In fact, it's starting to get worse again. Some people are blaming these tariffs from the new president for this. Some people are blaming the past administration. The reality is whatever the case might be on actually how this happened, is that it's bad that it's happening. You do not want inflation to get worse in the U.S. If you are going to the grocery store, it's going to be more painful. And if you're outside of the U.S. and you're watching this video, you don't want inflation to get worse in the U.S. because that means that the Fed would actually have to raise rates. And why does that matter for you if you're outside of the U.S.? Because if you're holding on to risk on assets, when the Fed is historically raising rates, it's difficult to get a world where risk on assets can pump like Bitcoin and crypto. So if you want your altcoin bags and you want your Bitcoin to pump, you want the Fed to be able to lower rates. And you wouldn't be the only one that would want the Fed to lower rates. In fact, the president wants the Fed to lower rates. And so on one hand, you have the Fed coming out and saying, we need to stay the course right now. Inflation is coming in higher than expected. In fact, with the rates coming in higher than they expected, they might need to raise the rates. He has not discussed that yet, but lately the language from the Fed has been during the Senate committee hearing yesterday and then in front of Congress members today. He got questions. Fed Chair Jerome Powell saying that we want to hold the rates steady for longer, and then kind of went through some of this CPI data and some of the inflation data, which isn't so good. So on one hand, you have, that guy saying that. On the other hand, you have altcoin holders and Bitcoin holders like, I want the Fed to cut rates because I want my risk on assets to go up. And you have the president who wants the Fed to cut rates as well. Why does the president want the Fed to cut rates? Well, does he want crypto? Does he want crypto to pump too? The answer is yes. He campaigned as one of the crypto presidents. And outside of crypto, the president wants to cut rates because what does it mean in the long term? It means that borrowing money is cheaper. It means that he's making life better in the short term, and that's the key here, and we're going to talk more about it, for Americans. Cutting rates from the Fed means that the mortgages are lower. It means that your car payments could be lower. It means that money is cheaper to borrow, so your mortgage is lower. It also means that as money's cheaper to borrow, more people want to invest in the market and go seek gains in the market instead of going and seeking gains on treasury bills and things like this. So if we get a world where the rates are starting to get cut, money's cheaper to borrow, and that would actually inflate the market. And that's what everybody in crypto has been hopeful for. So you'd think that, the president would be more aligned with you if you're an altcoin trader right now, but we gotta really think about this, guys, and proceed with caution here. Because historically, the question is who is right? Okay, for crypto, who's right for the U.S. economy and just the health of these in the stock market and everything in the long term? And I would have to say that probably right now the Fed is right, which might be shocking for you guys to hear me say. Maybe it's not. And this is the moment in the video where I expect to see some comments down below. And I say that not because I want to see rate cuts. I want to see more than anything. Why? Because I want to see the markets pump. And so I align with the president's desire there. And I think it's a good desire for him to have, right? But is that the smart decision? And the data would suggest no. Historically, if inflation's coming up and you're lowering the rates, in the short term, it could be good for the, jobs growth. It could be good for the economy. In the long term, it's going to make inflation worse. And if inflation gets worse, it's just passing the problem down the road and making things more difficult. Does that mean that it's going to be more difficult for the president to have lower mortgages and a better stock market during his presidency if the Fed's not lowering rates? Yeah, that's why the Fed, the president wants the Fed to cut the rates. But I'm going to align with the Fed on this right now, even if he's playing political games or the president, they're all playing political games, let's be real about it. But the data suggests, and the best thing that we can ever go off of when you're talking about markets or money is data. The CPI suggests inflation's coming back up. We couldn't possibly lower the rates right now, I don't think, because if we do, inflation could get worse. And that is the last thing that Americans need, is to have their eggs get more expensive. And I think that a lot of people would get behind that. Does it mean that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for the crypto market to pump? Probably, but not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. And here's the example in that. Though the market came down a little bit today when CPI data came out, crypto bounced back. So now what am I saying? Now I'm telling you guys that just because we can't get the rate cuts, and just because I am kind of aligning with Fed Chair Powell's decision making here, doesn't mean that I'm, not optimistic for crypto. Here's the reality of the situation, guys. And this is the beautiful gold and silver lining around this whole topic, okay? That should get you excited. If you've realized one thing, this inflation thing is difficult. It's politicized. Fiat has the quantitative easing, the quantitative tightening. We've got the printing of money. We've got the rates that we go up and down. We've got the treasuries. We've got, all these different things. We've got the Fed, who's a private/public organization, and you have to wonder, who's in more control, the private entity or the public part of it? If there's any private component, it leads you to question what's going on there. If this has taught us anything, the inflation problems, the conversation about the Fed, the politicization of the opinions from the president towards the Fed, or from the Fed towards towards politicians, and towards their actions, if it's taught us anything, it taught us that we need an off-ramp to the fiat system. That's my opinion. And Bitcoin's that off-ramp. If you want to hedge against inflation and you don't want to worry about inflation, well, historically, Bitcoin is the asset of choice. And if you believe in Bitcoin, well, then when you see dips because of inflation for Bitcoin, that would be a buying opportunity. And so as we see inflation get worse, or conversations around inflation get more frustrating, honestly, I think that brings more buying into the crypto space. On these volatile moves, when the Fed is cut, when the Fed talks about CPI, we get CPI data today. You can make some killer trades on these days. For example, when this dipped earlier today, you could have easily opened up a long position on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went up in less than 3 hours, 3%. If you want to do some trading, and I'm doing a lot of trading lately, you could sign up for Blowfin. What's really cool, guys, is Blowfin actually created this really cool spinner game where you can actually earn a full Bitcoin. You might not win. You might win 10,000 Pepe. You might win 30,000 Pepe. This ends in 8 days and 15 hours. And if you deposit $100, you get $10 worth of free Pepe. And this is limited to the first 100 users. I use Blowfin to do my trading on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and these other memes that sometimes I'm trading. I've been doing a lot of trading on Bitcoin lately. And if you want to join me in those trading endeavors, you can certainly do so. One thing that's really cool about the volatility presented by the CPI data coming out, or the Fed speaking, is it causes excitement and fear in the crypto market, which causes big swings. And if you're a good trader and you learn how to trade, you can make money on those swings as you're waiting for the bull market to continue. So wrapping up this video, guys, I am agreeing in the Fed's decision to hold the rates right now, though part of me wants to see the rates lowered so our crypto can pump. But in the long term, I don't want more inflation for the country, for myself, for my family, for you, for anybody if you live here in the US, because it's just passing the buck down the road. What we really need is we need a solution to the inflation problem. And hopefully there's a solution to the inflation problem that's not just, the printing or the not printing or the interest rates increased or decreased. Hopefully we can come up with some other ideas. And then you get into the controversy of how can the government be more profitable, make more money? And that is a big conversation going on right now. If we can save money and we could balance the budget, actually, that would help with inflation. And that's the big debate that's going on right now with Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. And I know a lot of people have some strong opinions on that. Yesterday, Elon actually talked about how with the work that he's doing, actually, he could eliminate inflation. Now, I don't know how much validity there is to that. That's a whole macroeconomic conversation. That's like a very complicated conversation about balancing the budget for the U.S. But it's a conversation that I think is probably better to have than this whole are we going to print money, or are we going to raise the rates, or are we going to lower the rates? Because this inflation game is getting old. And if we can come up with some alternative strategies to curb inflation, I mean, I'm at least open to hearing them and seeing what the deal is. So I'm optimistic for crypto, guys. The reality of the situation is we are seeing volatility in crypto based on what's going on the macroeconomic scale. But I do believe there's a world where cryptocurrency could pump even if we're seeing rate hikes, guys. Even if we're seeing there's a world where it could happen. I never liked the fact that crypto prices were tied to the traditional macroeconomic picture. I never really liked that because, again, I think that Bitcoin is the off-ramp to this whole wacky system. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you in this one. I'm Crypto Kip. This is a Crypto Report. Do me a favor. If you like this content, if you like this type of content, let me know in the comments down below. Smash that like button for me. Subscribe to this channel if you want more content like this. We're going to keep it real over here. We're going to keep the content flowing. I am Crypto Kip. This is a Crypto Report. Nothing here I say is financial advice as ever. That's not what we're doing here. We're just reporting on the news, speculating on the prices just like you guys, and having a lot of fun enjoying these crypto markets and the beautiful volatility and enjoying some trading. If you want to trade, sign up down below. DCA, hold on, my friends. I'll see you in the next one. 2 videos here if you want to check them out. Peace, y'all.